Thanks, guys. Joining me is Ulf Anderson, creative director at 10 Chambers, and we are going to be checking out a game called GTFO. So straight away, very cryptic acronym. I'm sure nobody knows what it means out there. Tell us, what is GTFO the game?
GTFO is a four-player cooperative game. We've been really honing down on team play and focusing on requiring people to play together and really going hardcore on that aspect. It's a action horror thing to really push people together, and yeah, it's a passion project. It's made by 9 guys right now, and we're capping it at 10. When we get to 11, I'll quit.
Okay,
at 11,
fair enough.
Yeah.
So your history in game development comes from one of my favorite games and series, which is Payday and Payday 2, and that is a very interesting kind of genre. There's these hordes of enemies rushing at you. It's action all the time.
Yeah.
And there were 2 ways to play Payday, action and stealth, and I understand you're kind of marrying them into a single mission with better continuity between them.
Yeah, we really are trying to do a very nice, dynamic experience. So you start out doing a lot of sneaking and exploration, and if you happen to fail or do something like that, it will switch up into combat, be really intense for a short while, and then swing back into sneaking and stuff like that. So you don't need to restart because you failed the sneaking, which is, it's yeah, we really like how it turned out so far. So yeah.
Wonderful. We just saw a bioscan and a door opening up there. So this is set in a science fiction setting.
Yeah.
Thematically and narratively, what is going on with GTFO?
You're actually part of a group of prisoners who are sent down into a underground complex. You're working for a sort of unknown entity called the Warden, and you don't know why you're there, what you've done, or anything. It's actually up to the community, the actual gamer community, to figure out the storyline. So we're going to tell the story from the actual release of the game and forward. Yeah, so the community has to pick it apart and figure it out.
Great.
Yeah.
We're seeing soldiers on the screen here using pistols. They have not brought out the heavy guns yet. Is there a reason for that? Is ammo a concern?
Yeah, ammo is a big concern. You have to really scavenge the levels to cope with the enemies, and that's why also you really have to sneak a lot, because if stuff happens, you really have to be careful about your resources. And if you end up in too many combats, you're gonna rely on the melee afterwards. So yeah.
So in Payday and games like it, you kind of chose your archetype not by a very strict archetype, but rather your loadout, using an automatic weapon with a high cap magazine, and body armor.
Yeah.
Is there a similar system in GTFO? Will you be able to customize your loadout?
Yeah. So we're not doing all the pay DLC and microtransaction stuff. I don't like that stuff. So for me, for this game, it's all about putting your team together and trying to figure out how to complete the map. So if you fail the first time, you can hone in on how to do it and sort of strategize with your friends, right, to figure it out. And there's a lot of interconnectivity between tools and weapons and stuff like that. When you start playing the game, the tools will be something you really have to start using, and after a while you actually have to start to figure out who's gonna, okay, you're gonna have the shotgun and I'm gonna have this, and to really cope with the different situations and different enemy types and different tweaks on enemy types and stuff like that. Yeah.
Great. Talk me through a mission from start to finish. What are we expecting in terms of maybe puzzle mechanics or role mechanics as well as combat? Are there something equivalent to Left 4 Dead Special Infected?
Oh, like special enemies and stuff like that? Yeah, there's all kinds of special enemies. But we're also doing a lot of small tweaks of mutations on them. So you really have to scope out the level and figure out what the opposition is. So the first pass through a level might be more exploratory, just to figure out the layout and what the opposition is. The next pass, if you wipe, which you probably will, the next one is more about trying to sort of adapt it again, and really, if you're up against, say, invisible enemies, you might want to grab an enemy scanner or something like that. If you're up against, some other type of enemy, or really quick ones, you might want to use a glue gun to slow them down or something. Yeah.
We just saw a laser trap there. Was that a player-placed laser trap, or are there kind of booby traps around the level and environmental hazards?
No, those are placed by the players. Yeah. Again, you really have to figure out the setup and the interconnectivity between the tools. So let's say you have a sentry gun. If you employ a glue gun at the same time, you can slow them down to get the sentry gun more chance. Again, if you fight an invisible enemy, you got to mark them first for the sentry gun to see them, etc., etc. So you really have to figure it out.
That's really interesting. So you're choosing your archetype based on these cool kind of emergent ideas.
You're actually putting your archetype together.
That's really exciting. We just
you
saw
can go all Sentry Gun through if you want to.
We just saw a large enemy there, so tell me some of the more difficult, challenging enemies, and talk to me about the difficulty progression from the start of the game as we get towards the later stuff.
Well, actually, it breaks down quite in a different fashion from normal games. Like you're going to play like a couple of missions, and then let's say we're not going to roll out all the details now, but like let's say the game actually changes over time. So it might be easy in the beginning, like a couple of first missions, and then it's getting harder and harder and harder. And after a while, into the post-launch, we're going to just shock you a bit with different things. So keep your eyes on it.
So we spoke about some special weapons like a glue gun as well as a sentry, but let's talk through the conventional arsenal. We can see kind of an SMG with a red dot, maybe like a 2X there. Tell me what kind of weapon choices do I have? Are there shotguns, LMGs, pistols, that kind of stuff?
There's a lot of different things there. There's shotguns, revolvers, and Gauss rifles, and all kinds of stuff. It's from your main weaponry. It really depends on your play style, what you want to play, and then it goes more and more into picking stuff that suits the map and the team. So you have a main weapon, and then you have your special weapon, then you have your tool, and then you have a melee weapon. So you really have to deck out. Like the main one is really your flavor. Whatever you want to play, if you like full auto or semi or whatever, you can pick that. Again, we're going to go into a bit more of the progression later on this year, but we're going to roll out some
That was going to be my next question, but now I suppose we'll talk about how the team can work as a single unit. Tell me about, are there tank archetypes, and can I get like heavy armor so my friends can kind of sit in the back, or is it not that strict and it's kind of just more about shooting?
It is, instead of doing like a tank thing, you actually have to say stop the enemies from coming at you. You might want to use the glue gun for that, or like a sentry gun for that, or mines for that, depending on the layout. If it's a big open thing, mines might not be effective. If it's enemies that's jumping, the glue gun might be close to obsolete in that case. And since we're throwing you curveballs all the time, you really have to okay, I'm saving my stuff for this encounter, and then you can use your stuff on that encounter and really try to figure out how to complete it.
Great. Are these levels procedurally generated, or are they handcrafted?
We actually have a very tight, procedurally, a procedural tool set that we use. Every map is heavily curated from the team, but we can create maps fairly fast, but it's hard to find the perfect map, right? So we're really picky about that. We don't want to create a game that just randomly generates stuff and it might be good and might not be good. We're actually really picky about what we release. But we can do maps faster than the normal game, let's say. Yeah.
Wonderful. Yeah. We're checking out GTFO here on IGN at E3 2018. So tell me about the mission length. Are these short 10-minute missions that I can play during lunch, or are they going to take me 2 hours?
We have all ranges, right? So we have the quick pick up and play lunch matches with relies a bit less on the team play because you're short on time and you just want to play through it. More maybe action orientated. But then we can scale it all up to 6 hours if you really want to. So hopefully, fingers crossed, nobody will die when they try to play one of those. For real die. Because it's a 6-hour game. But we'll see what the community likes and sort of adapt to that and see. But we can make really long things.
So I know you just told me you're not talking about progression in too much detail, but I'm going to ask it anyway. Will we be getting loot along the way? Will we be building out the variety in our tool set as we play?
Yeah, I can say yes. I can answer yes on that. Yeah, absolutely. That's one of the benefits of completing maps, of course. Getting stuff, modifying your equipment, and yeah. But I'll leave it at that.
Wonderful. Speak to me about what we're seeing on the screen right now in terms of the objective that the team is trying to complete.
Yeah, so right now they've found out where they're going. So in the game you have to use consoles and the computer systems of the complex to sort of figure it out. In this version, and the PC version relies on actual keyboard input in consoles. So there's a small OS running in the mainframe in the game that you have to log in and do your
yeah.
And we do a lot of puzzling with that and a lot of communicative puzzling. So I have to tell you what the code is, and you might be under attack at the same time, or decide to split the team up into twos. And we're really trying to play with what's possible in a cooperative game. Yeah.
Great. We've seen a lot of subterranean gameplay here. We've seen a lot of tunnels. Can you speak to me about what we will be seeing in terms of environments? Is this it with some iteration on this, or are there more wide open spaces?
There's going to be more wide open spaces, but it's going to be placed underground.
Great.
Yeah. It's all about that. It's all about getting out of this situation, of course.
Well done.
So it's underground, but we're trying to make it play in a very, like, each environment will cater to different play styles and different, a certain kind of enemy might behave in a certain way in a certain environment, And on top of that, all the mutations and all the setups. Just make it very varied,
Speaking of certain enemy types, what is your favorite type of enemy to fight against or to watch players try and fight against and maybe lose?
Well, I like the combination that we have of the ranged enemies and the close-up stuff. Also, I like the can I tell you about that? No, I can't.
Bummer. My heart is broken.
There's a couple of cool ones. There's like this one. Oh, there it was. There's like a really big one that actually snatches players and lifts them up, and we have an enemy actually snatching players and running off with them and that kind of stuff. So
great. So when can we expect GTFO? And this is my favorite question to ask developers. Tell me about post-launch content, because this is a game as a service. Will it be supported after launch?
I'm trying to avoid the games as a service sort of, because people read into that a lot, because then that means micros, etc., etc. We're not doing micros. We're just updating the game post-launch a lot. And we want to interact with our community a lot, because that's one of the most fun things for us to do. So we're just going to keep telling a story and keep playing around with that and having fun with that. So
when can people get their hands on GTFO?
It's going to be released, the goal is 2018. Yeah, but it's a 9/19, man.
Beta?
And if
Cyberpunk
is released, it's going to slide out.
You heard it here
first.
It's going to
slide out.
Cyberpunk 2077 is released. Then Ulf Anderson is not going to be able to finish GTFO on time. But let's hope it is. 2018 GTFO. Check it out. Thanks so much. Back to you guys.